respect the provisions of Article 37 of the Constitution. We also call upon the organizers of the demonstrations to ensure that their demonstrators are peaceful and that the people demonstrating are unarmed. The right to life. Article 26 of the Constitution guarantees the right to life. The Commission has documented the shooting of at least 3 persons allegedly killed by the police in Kisumu County. KNCHR is further investigating other reported incidences of deaths. Every life is sacrosanct, and no person should lose his or her life during such incidences. And we, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, call upon the National Police Service to ensure security and protection of all persons during demonstrations and to refrain from using live bullets. We wish to clarify that as at now, we have no evidence that police have used live bullets, neither do we have confirmed information as to persons responsible for the shootings, but we continue to investigate. We also call upon the National Police Service and IPOA to conduct thorough investigations into the killings and to bring perpetrators to justice. On the freedom and security of the person, Article 29 of the Constitution provides that every person has the right to freedom of security of the person, which includes the right not to be subjected to any form of violence from either public or private sources. The Commission continues to document serious breaches of this right. Several persons, including demonstrators, police officers, journalists, and innocent civilians, have sustained various degrees of harm and injury, which include gunshot injuries. These have been documented in parts of Mathare Valley, Kibra, Nairobi, Embakasi, Jacaranda, Kawangware, Migori, and Kisumu. We, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, call upon citizens to respect this right and refrain from causing harm and injury to other citizens, media personnel, and the members of the National Police Service. We also call upon the National Police Service to conduct investigations, arrest, and ensure prosecution of perpetrators. We further call upon the National Police Service to observe the provisions of the Public Order Management Guidelines, which is part of the service standing orders. The other right is the freedom of the media. Article 34 guarantees press freedom. The media practitioners must equally enjoy their rights to life, security, dignity, and privacy. No journalist should become the target of restraint and attacks in the course of their fundamental duties and accountability to the public as they report on the demonstrations. Our monitoring has recorded incidents of knife-wielding gangs in Kibra attacking journalists from local and international news outlets, and of a rowdy gang within Kibra DO's office area, injuring several others. We also have reports of journalists that were forced by security officers to delete images captured during the demonstrations, while others were arbitrarily arrested. It is evidently clear that journalists now find themselves in precarious situations where the security officers and demonstrators view them as adversaries in the course of their duties, rather than purveyors of public information. The enjoyment of media freedom is clearly stipulated and anchored in the Constitution under Article 34 on the freedom of the media. We, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, therefore call on the National Police Service to provide security and protection to all journalists covering the demonstrations in line with the Constitution. We also call upon civilians to accord journalists due respect and avoid attacking them while in their line of duty. Freedom of conscience, religion, belief, and opinion. Article 32 enshrines the right of every person to manifest any religion or belief through worship, practice, teaching, or observance of a day of worship. the Commission has received reports of the burning of a mosque and a church in Kibera and warns that if this trend is not promptly checked, then the country is degenerating from political stand views and into an abyss of religious intolerance. We, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, condemn in the strongest terms the burning of places of worship and urge the Interreligious Council of Kenya and other faith-based institutions to put in place mechanisms, programs, and activities that will promote tolerance and reconciliation between the communities and faiths involved. We also call on all Kenyans to respect and uphold each other's right to religion, belief, and opinion. On the protection of right to property, Article 40 protects the right of every person to acquire and own property. The Commission monitoring reports have captured incidences of invasion and destruction of property that is privately owned. The Commission warns that if such conduct is permitted to continue unchecked, it may escalate and result into very undesirable outcomes. We, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, call upon all Kenyans to respect the right to own and acquire property. We also call upon the National Police Service to protect and guard this particular right without fear, favor, or bias. On economic and social rights, Article 43 guarantees every person's socio-economic rights. The Commission takes cognizance of the limitation of the enjoyment of social economic rights during this period. Prevalence of the current situation will exacerbate our already fragile economy that has been greatly affected by, amongst others, recent drought, famine, and COVID-19 debacle. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is particularly concerned by the negative effects borne out of the current impasse that is limiting the right to education, access to health care, freedom of movement, right to livelihood, and transportation of goods, services, and people, amongst others. The inability to realize these rights will have long-term effects on the realization of other rights. Freedom of expression. Article 33 guarantees the freedom of expression. This right is, however, limited in instances where the communication amounts to incitement to violence, hate speech, advocacy of hatred that constitutes ethnic incitement, vilification of others, or incitement to cause harm. The Commission notes that the continuous abuse of the freedom of expression, mostly on online platforms, with cases of incitement, hate speech, propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation. Equally, a lot of unverifiable and tweaked information has been noted during this period, most of which is peddled on social media platforms, blogs, and other channels. Such information has caused anxiety amongst the members of the public and creates animosity, intolerance, and polarization in the citizenry. We, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, calls on the National Commission on Integration and Cohesion to investigate the cases and bring the violators to account. We also call on the NCIC to put in place urgent measures to stem the escalation of intolerance across communities, ethnic groupings, and political leanings, and to put in place integration and cohesion strategies and programs to address the issue. In conclusion, the Commission notes that the common mwananchi continues to bear the brunt. They suffer physically and financially. When one is unable to go to Mujengo, he loses income. When Mama Mboga is unable to get to Markiti and to make any sales, it amounts to loss of income. For persons who earn less than $1 a day, loss of 1 day's wages or earnings is life-threatening. We notice the demonstrations and police presence is heavy in the informal settlements. thus disrupting the lives of the residents of these habitats, including women, children, the elderly, persons with disabilities, and law-abiding citizens. We are on the brink of the precipice, and unless the current and severe situation is addressed, we run the risk of flying too close to the sun. We cannot afford to keep on this trajectory. All political actors and duty bearers must stand up to be counted and to be accountable. The Commission calls on anyone with information and human rights concern to share them with us through our several platforms that are available for sharing information. We thank you all.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Madam Rosaline Odede. Now we're going to open the floor for question and answer session. Kindly, if you have any question, tell us your name, the media house you represent, and then our chairperson or delegated commissioners will be able to answer this. The floor is open. Seems like the chair has done a perfect job. I want to believe the media has a question or two. Wanzala, I want to believe you have a question from the standard. Will you see it? This is a solid card.
My name is Victor from Custody. You call on all political actors to stand to be counted. In clear terms, are you calling for them to come together for dialogue, or what exactly are you getting at?
Thank you very much. Now, dialogue is a means of resolving disputes. Article 59 of our Constitution enshrines the right to alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, and dialogue is one of them. If they find it necessary to dialogue, if they find it's a mean that can resolve the current impasse, we will support it because it's constitutional.
Thank you very much.
I think I have one. My name is Mwambi from RUTO. I think in your statement there is somewhere you say that you are investigating 3 deaths of people who were shot dead in Kisumu, but the Commission does not have information as to whether the police have been using live bullets. So according to the Commission, who do you think should those 3 people dead?
We cannot assign the bullets to any particular person or entity. What we can confirm is that there are deaths arising out of bullet shots. So that is why we are calling for thorough investigations into the source of those deaths. Who caused it? Who had the gun? Is it a private citizen? Is it a policeman? Who did it? We want to know, and Kenyans want to know. And we are calling for thorough investigations into that. But for now, because most of the security agents are the police, we are also bringing it to the attention that if they're controlling crowds, please do not use live bullets.
My name is Henry Chende from Lookuptv. Just a follow-up on his question. Do you trust the police to carry out investigations if they are the persons involved, so that the truth can come to the fore?
Well, we've seen instances in the past when they have brought their own colleagues to court. We have the command responsibility case on the Baby Kendo case in court right now. We have cases where police officers have been jailed. We have the case of the lawyer where police officers were investigated by themselves and brought to court and jailed. So let's give them benefit of the doubt. And we also have IPOA as a constitutional body assisting in the process. So let's give them benefit of doubt. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. If there will be need for any follow-up interview, Q&A session, kindly feel free to get in touch with me. My colleague Linesta will be able to give you the hard copies of the statement here. Thank you very much.
I'm requesting that
She can give a Kikuyu one.
Yeah, we have
And we have a Luya one.